Hey, it's me, Rod Morgan, a longtime listener and semi-professional host of the Morgan You Know podcast, a pop culture, sometimes music, sometimes movies, sometimes TV podcast, always entertaining podcast on the Morgan You Know podcast network. Listen to us wherever you get your podcast. That's an awful lot of podcasts. That's the Morgan You Know podcast.
Hello, Internet. The Morgan You Know podcast network presents Balls and Brew.
Welcome into another edition of the flagship sports podcast here on the Morgan You Know podcasting network. I am your host. My name is Rod Morgan. Joining me is my co-host on all Balls and Brew. He is joining us from the great state of North Carolina. It is Chris King. Chris, hello.
What is up, Rod? It is good to be here as always, and just like Baker Mayfield, let's go F this up.
There we go. It is the whiff of football is in the air. We have big college football games coming up this weekend. Pro football just around the corner. I know that makes our guy, the handicapper, Josh Williams, awfully excited. Josh joining us from South Bend for another year of doing his thing, predicting games here on the Morgan You Know podcasting network. Josh, hello.
What's up, boys? NFL football right around the corner. We got Blueberry Festival right around the corner. Weather is fantastic out. Let's go. Let's do this. Best time of the year.
All right, Mr. Williams, I wanted to start here with you. How many fantasy drafts do you have in the books already? Or you just have the one league and you've already gotten it done and out of the way, or do you still have it up and coming?
No, I've got that league out of the way. I'll do some best ball drafts on DraftKings in this next couple weeks, and then get my survivor picks all in order, and try and have some against the spread picks next week for everybody. So yeah. Lots of studying, lots of research going on.
You may be getting an apology from me here, Mr. Williams, because Mr. King and I are in the same exact fantasy league, and we have yet to draft. So you could actually see each of us pulling some dodging maneuvers with one another here, like we gave you some guff for last year. Chris, am I speaking out of school here, or do you plan on doing the same thing?
That may happen. We'll see how it goes.
All right, so we have our draft later and upcoming. We here on the Morgan You Know podcasting network are produced by James Jamriska. Jimmy was going to join us and help make his picks for this football season, but something has come up this evening. But I have made him send me all of his picks for division winners and playoff teams, so we will reveal those when Chris and I and Josh reveal our picks, and we will get to doing that on the other side of this question. Mr. Williams, I didn't prep you for this, but I know you well enough to know you probably have a couple of thoughts. College football is the thing happening this weekend. You got any nuggets you want to release to anybody about any college football game going off? Maybe Buckeye fans, maybe Irish fans, maybe another game. What do you got? I know you got something.
The Buckeyes Irish line started at 14. It got bet up immediately up to like 17.5. There was a little bit of buyback with some sharps on 17. So I guess that's slightly good news for the Irish that they're not going to get blown out. Maybe, I don't know. There's one sharp who I respect a lot and says they're going to get blown out, and then another guy took Notre Dame plus 17. So we'll see on that. I mean, it looks like college football top heavy again. Bama and Ohio State. Probably you can fast forward the season 3 months, and they're 3 or 4 months, and they're probably going to be playing for the title. So.
I wouldn't tell you that Notre Dame is going to beat Ohio State by any shape or form, but I think Marcus Freeman's going to have those boys show up. So I might be on the side of take the points with Notre Dame. Chris, you got any thoughts on the Buckeyes Irish?
I would take the points, especially at 17. I would definitely take the points.
What do you think the Irish are going to be this year? Are you looking forward to them under a new coach? Have you lost any of your Notre Dame love, being a little further away from the area? How do things go for you, Notre Dame, these days down in tobacco country?
I'm actually excited. I like this coach. I think he brings a lot of energy to the team. I think the players love him. He's getting the recruits he needs. I'm excited.
Williams, let's put your Notre Dame your fan hat on here a little bit because you live in the area. Are you excited to see a new coach at the helm after all these different years of Brian Kelly?
Oh, yeah. Freeman seems like he's got a lot of respect from the players. He's already brought in a number one recruiting class, I think, next year, or I know it's top 5, so that is really impressive from being how young he is. So it looks like the program's on the right track. They just have a brutal schedule this year. I mean, they play Ohio State and Clemson. USC by the end of the year could be top 10. They got a tough game against BYU on a neutral site later on in the year. So, and then for him, I mean, what possible tougher landing spot than to play on the road at night versus a top 2 Ohio State team against your alma mater. And this is projected to be Ohio State's best team since they won it all with Zeke 6 or 7 years ago. So really, really tough landing spot for Notre Dame. But macro wise, I like the way the Irish are headed.
I really do agree with everything you guys have said about Marcus Freeman, but I can't help but think of how things under Tyrone Willingham, the pressure seemed to be turned up an awful lot, and he didn't seem to get as much rope as one would like. Now, certainly the stuff on the field was not there, right? You couldn't back it up all that much at the time, but I just felt that their standards were really, really quick sometimes when a new coach comes in. So it'll be interesting to see how much temperature gets turned up on him after one loss to Ohio State. Certainly, he'll have a bit of a honeymoon there, but some people are crazy, and they're going to say to themselves, if it is a blowout like some of the spreads have it, it'll be interesting to hear what South Bend has to say. And listen, I don't have any kind of sports talk radio here in South Bend other than basically Notre Dame, so there will be many, many days to process what happens after that Ohio State game. So I'll have some thoughts for you next week when we are back together talking football. But we're going to take a little break right here. Let's get Jimmy, come on, cut us something up here, right? Like men tackling or the Monday Night Football theme or the old NFL theme or something. Give us a couple seconds of that, and when we come back on the other side, we'll start getting our predictions in. All right, Mr. Williams, before we began recording, I asked you where you felt like you had some of your stronger, maybe opinions, leans, information, research, however you want to color it, and some of that was the NFC. So, Chris, you'll be delighted to hear I want to start in the NFC East with your Cowboys division. Does that make you scared, or are you happy that we're starting with your Cowboys, Chris?
Let's go.
All right, Mr. Williams, tell us why we're starting in the NFC East.
Yeah, I think Dallas is primed to regress this year. As much as I liked them last year, they still have Mike McCarthy as head coach. That can't be good. They lose La'el Collins on the offensive line. They lose Connor Williams on the offensive line. And the biggest loss was Tyron Smith. They probably go from a top 5 offensive line all the way down to maybe a bottom 10 or bottom 12 offensive line. And the defense is primed to regress. They had 26 interceptions last year. That is insane. Just in comparison, they had 25 the previous 3 years combined. So defensive stats are they're kind of fickle from year to year, so I don't see that happening again. And look, man, Philly got better. Philly added A.J. Brown in the offseason. They added Hassan Reddick in the offseason. And they have all kinds of weapons around Jalen Hurts. You could probably say Jalen Hurts is their weakest link. I won't disagree with you on that. But the GM has done a fantastic job of putting weapons around Philly, and they've got Devonta Smith. They got a good tight end, Dallas Goedert. They have the number 1 offensive line among numerous prognosticators in the NFL. So taking that over from what Dallas has had in the previous couple of years. So, yeah, and they play one of the easiest schedules in the league. So I really like Philly to win double-digit games this year to win the NFC East. You can get them at plus money, plus 150 right now. I know Chris doesn't want to hear that, but I even know major Cowboys fans that are kind of receding and kind of conceding this division title. And we haven't had a repeat division title in the NFC East since 2004. So that's also another reason against the Cowboys. I like the Eagles plus 150 to win the East.
Sounds a little bit like blasphemy to my ears. The one thing I'll say is the offensive line is now more of a concern, especially since Smith went down with an injury. That being said, you bring up Mike McCarthy. He doesn't do anything with the offense. Kellen Moore has that offense running, led the league in points scored last year. It'll still be a high-powered offense this year. I definitely think they'll lean a little bit heavier on Dak and his arm than what they will Zeke with the offensive line woes, but I don't think that Philly has gotten that much better. I just don't. People are really trying to talk up Jalen Hurts, and I hope he's successful, but this is his second year. It'll be his first full season. You just don't know what you got with him yet, and I think you put all this pressure on a kid this young, and he may end up folding. Who knows? Philly's not an easy place to play. Those fans are not nice at all. It can get rough there, and if he goes on a slide or has a couple bad decisions or bad games, they're really going to come down on him, and I don't know how he can handle it. That being said, I still think this is Dallas's division to lose, just like it is almost every other year since the 90s. It's almost always Dallas's division to lose. And even though there hasn't been a repeat since 04, like you said, I still think it's Dallas's division.
Spoken like a true arrogant Cowboys fan. I tend to be on the side of Mr. Williams. I like the Eagles. I think they're a little frisky. I also like how you call Jalen Hurts a young quarterback. I think this is like his third year. I guess everybody's young when it comes to you, Chris, as far as that goes. But I'm going to actually drop a little wild question for each division as it comes up, and I'm going to throw it at our guy Williams completely sight unseen because I love it when I do this to him. His reaction is always great. So, Mr. Williams, I'm going to ask you about this one. I have a futures bet on the New York Football Giants to make the playoffs. If they make the playoffs, I stand to cash a decent little ticket. What are your thoughts about me having the Giants for the playoffs? Do I even have a shot?
Yeah, I mean, I love the Giants coaching staff. They made major additions there with Brian Daboll and Wink Martindale, and they're going to blitz a whole lot more. The problem with the Giants is they just don't have that much talent. And I wish that they did, but because I'm a big, huge fan of Brian Daboll, but they've already had injury bad luck in training camp. They've had some offensive line issues. They've had some weird wide receiver back and forth. They've got some off-field issues with some wide receivers, but I'm hoping that they get this straightened out by the end of the year. Daboll's a fantastic offensive mind, and I thought that he was going to accelerate Daniel Jones' fantasy outlook this year, which he still might, but it's going to take a while, man, if they do it all. Daboll's got a ton of cleaning up to do from the GM, Dave Gettleman, with the mess that he made with this Giants team. So they could be a year or two away, but I like their projection. I know that doesn't help you this year, but yeah, that's my Giants outlook.
All right. Well, I threw that one sight unseen, and I'm a year early on the Giants. That sounds like the way it tends to be for me. I'm always a year ahead of things. I'm like, this is probably going to break out this year, and then it doesn't. You can always bet it's going to be the year after. Let's go ahead and get everybody down on paper here, official, before we move away from the NFC East. Unless, Mr. Williams, do you have another nugget out of the NFC East that you need to give the people, or can we move to a different division?
No, that's fine. We can move on.
All right, so let's get our picks down on paper. We'll start with Jimmy's picks each time because Jimmy is not here. Then us three will get ours down, even though I think we've all kind of tipped our hands. Jimmy is taking in your NFC East. Chris, he's with you. He's got your Dallas Cowboys because, Chris, I'm assuming that's who you're picking to win the NFC East?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we got Jimmy and Chris with the Cowboys. I am taking the Eagles. Mr. Williams, I think you tipped your hand. That's who you're going with, right? I think I'm with you there.
Yeah, for sure. Eagles easy in this division.
Nice. All right, so we got 2-2.
He says.
Yeah. Yeah, he's coming after your boys there, Chris. All right, Chris, since we attacked your Cowboys, we'll let you pick. What division in the NFC do you want to go to next?
Let's just go to the North.
The North it is. Mr. Williams, handicap it for us.
Yeah, I like the Vikings in this division. They get one of the biggest upgrades in coaching in Kevin O'Connell. He comes over from the Rams as their passing game coordinator. And I think Dalvin Cook is set up to have an awesome year this year. Nobody ran more 3 wide receiver sets than the Rams did last year, 11 personnel. And Dalvin's EPA in the last 3 years running out of 11 personnel, 1st, 5th, and 7th in the league. And you spread defenses out with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, and you got a big tight end in Irv Smith, and you've had some additions on the offensive line, and Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison, maybe one of the best running back rooms in the league. And the Vikings only play 7 true road games this year. They get the Saints over in London as a road game. So I like the Vikings this year. I don't think Green Bay is going to take a big step back. I just think the Vikings, they lost 8 close games last year in one possession games. That's due to regress positively. And actually, there's a stat about that. When you lose that many close games, on average, the team next year wins over 3 games onto their winning record or onto the overall record from the previous year. So, Vikings won like 8 games last year. So you're looking at the Vikings. You add in a good coach. I think the Vikings could win 11, 12, 13 games this year. So I like the Vikings in the North.
You know who really likes that? Kirk Cousins. He really likes that. He's really a big fan of that stat.
You like
just
that?
Dropped right there. Yeah, he definitely does. I think we're just getting a little ahead of ourselves here, right? Like Mike Zimmer was a guy that people liked, and then until he wasn't. You know what I mean? Which is basically the life cycle of an NFL coach. And so I think we're putting an awful lot on the fact that Zimmer's out here, and we're putting an awful lot on the fact that the Vikings just lost kind of by dumb luck. And what if they just lost because Kirk Cousins is a guy who loses very often? I'm going to stick with the 2-time defending NFL MVP. I may find his off-field behavior deplorable these days. I happen to love his haircut, though. Go ahead with that hair, Aaron Rodgers. I wish I could grow mine out quite that long. But other than that, the guy on the field is pretty flawless. Maybe he's not going to get it done in the playoffs. His resume certainly speaks to that. But in the regular season, give me the Packers in the NFC North. Chris, what are your thoughts?
Well, we talk about this in the NBA, Rod. Until we're proven differently, go with the best player. In NBA, that's LeBron. You can't count LeBron out. So in the NFL, really the best player right now is Aaron Rodgers. 2 back-to-back MVP years, 13-win seasons. He gets it done year in, year out. I don't see that changing. That being said, I do like the Vikings. I think they'll be a double-digit win team, 10, 11 games. Good chance this guy gets Coach of the Year if he can turn them around. So I really do like the Vikings in second, but then you got the Bears and the Lions fighting for the cellar dwellers, and I really think the Bears will end up being.
Well, I think there's no doubt that the Bears will be the cellar dwellers, Mr. Williams. I don't want to spend any time here punishing your Bears because Mr. Jim Riska did quite a bit of that last week on our NFL Tiers episode. What I do want to talk about is that other cellar dweller that Chris just talked about. Now, I may be having Hard Knock stars in my eyes right now and Mr. Dan Campbell up there in Detroit. And I understand that Jared Goff is still at quarterback, but something about Detroit intrigues me. Something enough to the fact that I have another futures bet, Mr. Williams. I have the Detroit Lions to make the playoffs. Do I have a better chance with Detroit than I have with New York? What do you think?
Yeah, we'll see on that. 1 second. I like Chris's thought on Kevin O'Connell, coach of the year. You can get him at 16-1 on DraftKings. Also, the Vikings, they faced the second most difficult schedule of opposing offenses last year. This year, they faced the 11th easiest schedule of opposing offenses. So I think Justin Jefferson is going to feast, and Dalvin Cook. Getting back to your Detroit Lions pick, I love their offense, man. I think their offensive line is one of the most underrated in all of football. All the prognosticators have those offensive linemen for Detroit top 10. And DeAndre Swift's hopefully primed for a big year for them. And Amon-Ra St. Brown was fantastic for those Detroit Lions down the stretch. The problem is their defense, man. They did not make any improvements to the defense last year. The defense was horrific, and the secondary is going to get torched this year. So Detroit might play in more exciting games. I think they will, because you got T.J. Hawkinson also as a weapon on offense. So you've got a few weapons there. And then Jamison Williams, who was, I think, the best wide receiver to come out of the draft last year. The only reason he slipped was because he got injured in the national title game for Alabama. He'll probably come back in the second half of the year. So this Detroit team is going to be actually super exciting offensively, I think. The problem is just their defense. Can they outscore opponents? We'll see.
What do you mean their defense is bad? I thought they were supposed to have a bunch of guys who are willing to bite knees and stuff and fight and claw. I mean, come on, they're on Hard Knocks. We're looking good there. I mean, I don't know. It's probably Hard Knocks. It does it to me every time. You know what I mean? That editing and a cool montage. You can win me over pretty easy with the montage. at all times. Let's go to Mr. Jamriska's pick here because I think we're going to be able to do this rather quickly. He has the Packers. I have the Packers. Chris, you have the
Packers.
Williams, you going with the Vikings, or are you just saying you like the Vikings and you're actually going to pick the Packers to win the division?
I've got the Vikings. You can get them at plus 260 to win the North on DK.
All right, there you have it. Mr. Williams has the Vikings. The rest of us have the Pack. Let's go out to the NFC West because I know there's a team out in the NFC West that Mr. Williams just loves talking about. And basically we go into every year just hoping that the San Francisco 49ers can stay relevant enough so that Williams can be justified in his inherent love for Kyle Shanahan and all of his schemes. So, Mr. Williams, what do you have for us in the NFC West? I shudder to think what you might have for us right now with the preseason, with the whole offseason to get research on your guy.
Well, they just threw a curveball to everybody by re-signing Jimmy G, so that kind of tells me that they have some questions with Lance. Listen, I mean, if Jimmy G is going to start 17 games, they're probably in the 7 to 10 win category. If Trey Lance is going to start games, it's a huge wide volatility area for Lance. He could either be terrible or he could be awesome. They could win 4 games, they could win 14 games. So I do like the Niners to win this division. Shocker. But I don't think they're gonna have like a top 1 or 2 seed in this NFC. I think the Rams take a step back. Easy for them to take a step back after having all kinds of injury luck last year. They were pretty fortunate. I don't see that happening again. But I do see them being pretty good. And then Arizona probably third, and then Seattle, one of the worst teams in the league, maybe the worst team in the league, finishing last. We'll see what you guys think.
I can't see anybody beating the Rams again this year. I think they're still the best team until proven otherwise. Super Bowl champs, got the same offense, got the good defense. The only thing they're really missing is Von Miller, who went to the Bills, but I still think they win this division. No one knows what Lance is. We know what Garoppolo is. He can win with them. He's done it before. And we don't know if Kyler Murray's going to study enough. So I think it's the Rams division to lose.
I love the Kyler Murray study shot in there. And what else I find interesting about this NFC West is for so long, we had to always talk about that team up in Seattle and Russell Wilson and all the craziness that would go on with the Seahawks. And they just are completely an afterthought in this division this year. And I think that might be a little premature. You got to remember, they have an old head coach, right? You know, I understand that their GM and their franchise may be like, hey, we're all in on a rebuild, but Pete Carroll's still going to be trying to pull some tricks and still be trying to do some rah-rah speeches to win a few games, man. The guy's in his 70s. So I know they don't have the quarterbacks right now, and everybody kind of thought they might get Jimmy Garoppolo, but who knows, man? Geno Smith might have a couple of magic in him, you know? So look out for the Seahawks, I guess is what I'm saying. Jimmy Jamriska has definitely given us a crazy pick for the divisions. But, Mr. Williams, I wonder if you have any other nuggets about any NFC West teams before we get our picks.
You know, I think the Seahawks should trade for Anthony Brown. Nobody knows who Anthony Brown is. It's the third quarterback on the Ravens. Tyler Huntley tore it up for the Ravens in the preseason. The Ravens have won like 1,700 preseason games in a row. They say some kind of record this year. Tyler Huntley tore it up. Their third quarterback is better than either of the starting quarterbacks for Seattle. And the reason why I said they should trade for him, Anthony Brown played for Oregon. He's familiar with the Northwest. Get him up there and make Seattle relevant. Seattle is going to be an absolute dumpster fire this year if they start Geno Smith or Drew Lock. So I cannot believe that the Seahawks chose Pete Carroll over Russell Wilson. That is going to go down as one of the stupidest decisions ever.
No organizational belief whatsoever out of you, huh, Mr. Williams? It all was Russell Wilson. It had nothing to do with the cagey old ball coach, Pete Carroll, right? The guy who, the player's coach, the ultimate player's coach, Pete Carroll, right? Come on. Genius Pete Carroll. He's got nothing to do with any of this, huh?
The defense, the Legion of Boom was fantastic. The GM has a lot to do with it. And Russell Wilson's rookie contract is why they won that Super Bowl. And Russ is awesome. We've seen Russ cook, and they should have let Russ cook more. And Pete Carroll's stuck in 1964, run the ball on first down and second down, and just not a fun offense to play. Now hopefully we're finally going to see Russ in a more up-tempo, more fun offense this year in Denver.
I was going to say, we'll have some Russ thoughts when we get to the AFC, which still is going to be weird to say. But all right, let's get Mr. Jim Riska's pick in the NFC North. He has, the NFC West, excuse me. He has the Arizona Cardinals. Chris, you made your little crack about Kyler Murray. Jimmy doesn't buy it. He thinks Kyler Murray is going to have the big FU season. Cliff Kingsbury is a great coach. All of you doubters out there like you, Mr. Williams, Jimmy has the Cardinals winning the NFC East. Chris, your rebuttal.
That's crazy. That's just crazy. They would have to win 3 out of 4 against the Rams in San Francisco, and I don't see them doing that. Even if Kyler Murray has another great season, it's not going to last forever. Arizona is, I think, going to regress a little bit, like how Williams wanted to bash on my Cowboys. I think the Cardinals are going to regress a little bit.
Well, listen, Jimmy better be getting a bet down on the Cardinals if he really believes that, because Williams, I got to assume they have pretty long odds to win that division, no?
Yeah, man, I would have to look that up. They lose Christian Kirk, their leading wide receiver last year. They lose DeAndre Hopkins, probably their best wide receiver for the first 6 games. They lose an underrated Chase Edmonds. I mean, this offense was running decent when Kyler was healthy, but this happens with Cliff Kingsbury teams every year, man. He starts out fast, and then the second half of the year, defenses adjust to him, and he refuses to make adjustments. And so it's the horizontal raid from Cliff, and he's got this big regression coming from Arizona this year, in my opinion.
All right. Well, let's hope that Jimmy, listen, he's got a long shot out there on the board. He'll get a huge pat on the back if he's right, and we'll, of course, deride him and make fun of him the whole entire year if he's not, which is probably more what will end up happening because it's Jimmy after all. So our picks officially are Jimmy has the Cardinals. Williams, you have?
I got the Niners.
Chris?
I got the Rams.
I will go with the Rams as well. I like the Rams to win the division. I think the Niners, you can tell me all you want that the quarterback room is going to be kumbaya. Everybody's going to be trying to help one another win football games, but I still think it's going to be weird. They're going to have to do different styles. Either Lance is really, really good, and then Jimmy just sits around and it doesn't matter, or there's weirdness going on. So I don't know. Give me the Rams. I think, they're going to have some laissez-faire games, but ultimately talent's going to win out. So give me the Rams. That leaves one division in the NFC, and that is of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Tom Brady division. The glory boy himself getting saved for last here on our NFC preview. Mr. Williams, start us off.
Yeah, a lot of concern around the Bucs. They've had a lot of offensive linemen go down in the preseason. They've added Julio, though, which should give them another red zone threat, while Chris Godwin is coming back off of injury. They still have a good running back room with Fournette. They drafted this Rachaad White out of Arizona State, who's one of the best pass catching backs in college football last year. I mean, everyone's down on Tampa Bay right now, but I mean, you can't count out Tom Brady, so they're still the favorites to win there. And then it seems like it's pretty self-explanatory from there on out. It's the Saints, Panthers, and Falcons, but we'll see. We'll see what you guys think here.
Well, we don't have to talk anything about the Falcons. Marcus Mariota at quarterback, please. Let's move on. Chris, come on. What's happening in your neck of the woods? Baker's going to start, right? But do we think we see Darnold, or does Baker have rope and he's started all year long?
I think Baker starts all year long. I think he's on a redemption tour. He wants to prove people wrong. He will have, I think, a phenomenal year. I think he'll get a healthy Christian McCaffrey for a majority of the season, and that makes this team very dangerous. I like Carolina more than I like the Saints. I'm not a Jameis Winston guy. Haven't been. I don't know if they know what they're doing down there. I like Carolina. I like Baker. I like McCaffrey. I think the defense is solid. I think that's the number 2 team in this division.
Wow, that is, you know what? I'm torn, right? I believe we're going to see some serious regression out of the Bucks. I think Tom Brady wanted to walk away for a reason. I think Bruce Arians weirdly stepping aside. What's going on there? Tom Brady leaving camp. Was he in the Masked Singer? I just think there's a lot of wild stuff going on. That offensive line is definitely in flux. When's Godwin going to come back? Gronk was the security blanket. He's not there. I don't know that I love Tampa. I just don't want to write them in the way that I wrote in Aaron Rodgers, which I know is insane because Brady has almost a better resume than Rodgers, but Rodgers to me feels more peak right now of his powers than Brady, which I also know is insane because of the yardage Tom Brady put up last year. So, Mr. Williams, talk us off this ledge here of why we're trying to put Tampa down, or do you got something else on the Panthers?
Well, I've got the Saints winning double-digit games. They will win more games than the Dallas Cowboys. People forget, Jameis had a 14-3 touchdown to interception rate through 7 games last year before he got hurt. There's a lot of continuity on this offensive line and this defensive line, and the offensive line was the most injured O-line all of last year. So then they still fared relatively well. So you bring in Landry, you draft the explosive Chris Olave, a wideout from Ohio State. Michael Thomas looks healthy for the first time in about 3 years. And it seems like, fingers crossed for Saints backers, that Kamara isn't going to serve his suspension this year. And you got 8 games this season versus teams that didn't make the playoffs. And plus, we've seen them play Tom and Tampa Bay extremely tough. They've got a top 5 overall defense in points per game allowed, top 5 defense in passing touchdowns allowed, top 5 in rushing touchdowns allowed, and now they bring in Tyrann Mathieu. This is the best Saints secondary they've ever had, maybe. So I think people are seriously sleeping on the Saints here. They're going to win a lot of low-scoring games with this defense, and they're actually one to target in fantasy for the Saints defense, in my opinion.
Nice. There you go. Fantasy defense call out there. I love that stuff out of Williams right there. All right, well, let's move along here on the NFC a little bit so we can get over to the AFC. So then who do you have winning this division, Williams? Are you going out on a limb and saying your guy Jameis and his crab legs win the division, or are you sticking with the Bucks?
They definitely could. I will still go with the Bucks, though. I think they get things straightened out, and by the end of the year, they are the best team. So I'll go with the Bucks.
Jimmy is with you. He has the Bucks. Chris, I think you might be drinking your own North Carolina water here, but I kind of like where you're at.
Listen, I really do like Carolina, but I have seen Tom Brady win divisions and go to Super Bowls with talent that I didn't think deserved anywhere close to a Super Bowl. So I'm sticking with the Bucks.
Wow, you're not going to – you know what? I'm going out on that ledge. I think Carolina has some sneaky talent on that team. I'm not entirely sure about the defense, but you can scheme together defense a little bit. They weren't very good last year, which means they're going to have a fairly easy schedule. Give me the Carolina Panthers because I, too, am a Baker Mayfield fan. Do I think that this guy is the next Joe Namath? Probably not. But he was a number 1 overall pick, won a playoff game as a quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Sure, he's a little short, but he's got that chip on his shoulder, and sometimes that's all you need. I like Carolina to win this division. Mr. Williams, who else you got in the playoffs for the NFC?
In the NFC, I've got Green Bay, I've got the Saints, and then the 7th team, man, I don't really like any of these teams. It's probably going to be between the Cowboys, Panthers, and Rams. And I guess I'll take the best head coach out of those 3, so I guess I'll go with the Rams.
Chris, your other 3 NFC playoff participants.
I think I'm going to go with Carolina. I am going to go with Minnesota. And then Philly.
Panthers, Vikes, Philly. See, that's what you've done with your division winners, Chris, is you've given you 3 pretty strong teams there to make the playoffs. I definitely love the Vikings and Philly for the playoffs. So if your division winners work out, you're going to be sitting pretty there because I already have the Panthers in, so I can't have them in. Do I think Tom Brady isn't going to make the playoffs? I don't know if I'm willing to go that far, so I'll put Tom Brady in the playoffs at least for his final hurrah season. Then as far as the Eagles go, I really do not love the Cowboys. I am willing to say that the Cowboys fall all the way out of the playoffs, so I'm not going to do my 7th team out of there yet. I'm going to move on to the Vikings. I too like them. Kirk Cousins can get you to a point. So I believe that the Vikings will be in the playoffs. And so then I'm down to, I got to go with Williams' Niners at that point. I feel much more confident putting the Niners in the playoffs than I do any other team. So give me Bucks, Vikes, Niners as my other 3 playoff teams. Mr. Williams, don't talk about who's going to win the Super Bowl here, but who's going to make the Super Bowl for the NFC, and then we'll talk about the matchup after we do the AFC.
This is tough here. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings.
Nice. Look at you putting the purple people eaters. Maybe they'll go by that one, their defense again. Putting the Vikes in the Super Bowl. Minnesota fans, get ready. Chris, who you got in the Super Bowl representing the...
First off, I really hope that Williams is right. I would love to see Minnesota in the Super Bowl again. I'm dating myself a little bit there. But I am going to stick with the Super Bowl champs. I'm going to say the Rams get back in.
Rams back-to-back Super Bowls. Don't see that very often these days. Rams in for Chris and me. I'm going to go to a little team in Philadelphia. I think that the Eagles are going to catch fire at the end of the year. I don't know why I think that. Maybe it's a premonition. Maybe I'm in on Jalen Hurts. Maybe I kind of like Nick Sirianni. Maybe I enjoy Philly cheesesteaks. Maybe I think Mark Wahlberg is going to stop his job as a bartender and actually become a kick returner for the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe I think Tony Danza is going to quit his job as a garbage man and catch on as their field goal kicker and become the garbage-picking, field goal kicking Philadelphia phenomenon. That's a movie that exists, people. Look it up on Disney+. It's probably there. I have the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Let's go, Philly. Let's run to the Rocky statue. Let's make it happen. I've stunned my 2 cohorts here on the podcast.
Yeah, I don't want to see the Eagles in the Super Bowl, dude.
I think it's definitely possible.
Williams, you always know a quick and easy way to my heart. Another team that has a quick and easy way to my heart is the Indianapolis Colts. So we are going to start in the AFC South because, Mr. Williams, I bet you don't have too many thoughts there because there's not too many sexy, great teams in this division. It may be the worst in football.
It could be. I like the Colts here. Shocker. They upgrade to Matt Ryan, and he's a steady leader who's not going to throw with his left hand inside the 5-yard line, unlike some other quarterbacks. But, yeah, I mean, I just think that this Colts team is primed to have an awesome year this year. They play a ridiculously easy schedule. They're going to lean on Jonathan Taylor. They're going to get Nyheim Hines involved also, maybe out of the slot, maybe play those guys both at the same time to lessen JT's workload. And by all evaluations here, Michael Pittman's is primed to have maybe a top 15 fantasy season here. I mean, you've seen Matt Ryan have successful years with Julio, and I'm not comparing Pittman to Julio, but Pittman is underrated as a number 1 wide receiver in my opinion. So he had an awesome year last year with Wentz, who is extremely inaccurate. Now all the reports are out of training camp is that these receivers can't believe that the ball is like right in their hands. So they're hitting them in stride and getting the ever important yak. So I like the Colts here a lot. They added Stephon Gilmore on defense, and that can't do anything but help with the experience in the back 4 there. So, like I said, extremely easy schedule. I think the Titans take a major step back this year, and I think Houston and Jacksonville are a little bit better. Chris was probably right. I was probably too eager to put Houston up in the tier 4. That's just my opinion there. I totally understand that. But even though they're going to be better, I still don't think they're going to win, 9, 10, 11 games, Houston or Jacksonville. So I think the only way the Colts don't win this division is if they have massive injury, bad luck. So I like the Colts here easy in this division.
What worries me about the Colts are 2 things. Jonathan Taylor is a great running back, but if Jonathan Taylor gets hurt, that really takes away an awful lot of what we like to do on offense. I understand Nyheim Hines is a interesting scat back type, but he certainly can't do what Jonathan Taylor does, so that will hurt us. And I'm on an island here and I like being that sometimes, but I'm not sure about some of Frank Reich's decisions. So if Matt Ryan is going to be as steady as everybody says, I think Frank Reich is going to kind of be the emperor's new clothes here in certain situations with some of his calls, because it was real easy to throw Jacoby Brissett under the bus a little bit, and it was awfully easy to chuck Wentz under the bus. Phillip Rivers just had a way of bailing Reich out of situations, and so did a quarterback who never will be named. Actually, I don't think he ever even played for Reich, so that doesn't matter. But what I am saying is I don't know about Frank Reich's calls sometimes. So I think that the Colts, they just seem to be snake bitten these last couple of years. Darius Leonard's always nicked up and out. Some of their guys from the secondary are always out. They seem to be shuffling offensive linemen all the time. Something just seems to be off with the Colts. I totally agree with you that the Titans are regressing. Who I worry about is the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's always one team that goes worst to first in the NFL. There's some sort of story that shocks us, and there's all these great stories that can come out of it. And what's better than the absolute worst head coach hiring ever in the history of the NFL? Paint him as the cancer, the bad person. Doug Peterson, affable, comeback story, former Super Bowl champion. Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be a glory boy, gets sidetracked in his opening rookie year. I really am scared of the Jacksonville Jaguars mojo. I know it's not necessarily on the field, Mr. Williams. How much do you factor in mojo when you handicap?
I factored in a little bit. Yeah, I think they'll be better. I mean, they have a long way to go, though, to make that huge jump. And Doug Peterson's a good offensive play caller. He should have Trevor Lawrence and Christian Kirk and Travis Etienne in some good situations to get the ball and run after the catch. So I just think they're lacking a little bit on defense and depth overall. But I think they could. I wouldn't be shocked if they won 7 or 8 games this year.
Chris, you caved for your Cowboys and you copped to be a Colts fan, and I don't understand how you're allowed to be two diehard fans of two different franchises, but we allow it. So, what are your thoughts on your team in blue and white?
Listen, I was excited with the Matt Ryan signing. I thought he would be perfect. He is a leader. He has been to the Super Bowl. He knows how to handle a whole lot more than what most of the guys will on this team. I think it's a perfect fit. I think Jonathan Taylor can still stay healthy all year long, especially with Hines getting more of a workload. I really like this team. I think if we do stay healthy, it's our division to lose. The only team that worries me is the Titans. I mean, they won 13 games last year, number 1 seed in the AFC. I know there might be some sort of regression, but Vrabel's a legit coach. I mean, he gets his players to play and play hard, and he has one of the best running backs in the league go down last year, and he just keeps on winning. Like, it was impressive what he was able to do in Tennessee last year. So that's who scares me.
All right, Mr. Williams, my question for you in the AFC South. Do we see, I believe his name is Malik Willis, correct? Isn't that the rookie the Titans drafted to play quarterback? Do we see him play quarterback for Tennessee this year?
I think you do, because I think the Titans are primed to regress here massively. They were 6-1 in games decided by 3 points or less last year. They continue to run extremely, extremely hot, like for 3 years in a row. This reminds me of how I just kept saying how Seattle just had to regress at some point, and Pete Carroll just kept pulling crap out of his ass. Then finally we saw Seattle just drop down to the dregs of the earth last year. This is what the Titans are going to do this year. They lose their stud number 1 wide receiver, A.J. Brown. Football Outsiders had them as the 20th best team last year. They were the number 1 seed in the AFC, and they were the 20th best team in Football Outsiders. That's the worst for a 1 or 2 seed ever in that website's database. They had a heartbreaking, devastating home playoff loss last year. You have to think, how are they going to respond to that? Tannehill played absolutely atrocious in that game. I know because I had him. The O-line is falling off. The running backs at that age, coming off a major injury, never quite get back to where they used to be. And Henry's efficiency massively dipped last year. So their defense is still pretty good, but I just see the Colts got better. Houston got a little bit better. Jacksonville got a little bit better. there's no way Tennessee can keep running this hot. I actually would not be surprised at all if they are the second worst team in the AFC this year, only ahead of the Jets.
Yeah, take that, Chris, and your Titans love.
Oh wow. Here's the one thing that I would bring up. Maybe one of the reasons that they were so good in those close games is because of Vrabel played for the genius Belichick, and who was magnificent in close games throughout his entire career. And some of that has rubbed off. I think Vrabel's a hell of a coach.
I would tend to agree with you there that Vrabel's a pretty good coach. Mr. Williams, I think you agree as well.
But
that's my boy. Get him.
There's times where he's really good. Like he had that playoff game against the Patriots where he milked the clock because he knew what the penalty was, and he kept milking it, and they just took five yards back, but the play clock kept going. And so that he turned a table on Belichick there. But then he's the same coach that punted on 4th and 3 from his own 42 or from the opponent's 42 against the Ravens in the playoff game in the fourth quarter when they were losing. One of the most atrocious punts in NFL history. I mean, this guy's super old school. I get it. He gets the guys to play hard for him. I'll give you that. But sooner or later, man, the analytics have to catch up with this guy. I just think the Titans are primed to regress.
All right, we got to move along a little bit in the AFC here. And I'm glad we did the AFC South first because that's the division closest to my heart. I am going to go with the Colts to win it, however. I think maybe I'm going to talk about Jacksonville when we get to playoff teams later. Hint, hint. But I got the Colts winning the division. Jimmy is also with me. The Colts are winning the AFC South. Chris, I think you are with me, but I'll let you speak for yourself.
Yep, the Colts.
Mr. Williams, you're with us, right?
Yeah, I got the Colts, and I would also look on DK. I think they offer this overall number 1 seed. I would look at the Colts, man. They play an easy schedule. The AFC West is going to beat up on each other. The North is tough. The Bengals play a tough schedule this year. So why can't the Colts with their running attack and their coaching staff and their improved defense get the number 1 seed in the AFC? I don't see any reason why they can't.
What you're doing here, Mr. Williams, at all with that. And I'll tell you one reason why the Colts won't get the number 1 seed, and that is Frank Reich. I saw neither one of you wanted to touch my Frank Reich thing there. I get it. I'm on an island. Analytics folks love him. That's why people
blasphemy.
love him. But I don't know. His decisions sometimes leave me wanting. Speaking of divisions that leave me wanting, let's go to the AFC East. It is home to the once powerful, mighty New England Patriots, but I don't believe it's their division to win anymore, Mr. Williams. It's that QB up in the frigid Buffalo, New York, right?
Yeah, we'll see. Buffalo was fortunate with injuries, finishing with the second lowest adjusted games lost last year. They're also likely to have worse fumble luck after recovering 5 fumbles over expectation. That's a weird stat, but it's true. The Bills also played the second least efficient opposing offenses in 21, and they finished dead last in yards after catch per completion. Teams on the opposite end of the spectrum of that stat. Number 1, San Fran. Number 2, Cincinnati. Number 3, Kansas City. Number 4, Green Bay. What do all those teams have in common other than the Super Bowl winning Rams? They were the last 4 teams in the playoffs last year. So that tells you how important Yak is and why we'll get to the team where I'm so high on in a second. Also, this is a surprising stat. Josh Allen was 22nd in the league in turnover-worthy plays last year. So there could be some regression coming with a tougher schedule in the Buffalo Bills this year. I'm not as high on them as most people are.
I am surprised to hear that because everybody's talking that Josh Allen's going to be even better this year. Everybody loves the Bills coach. Von Miller is there. Chris, you shouted that out earlier. What do you think about Williams throwing some water on the Bills already?
I think that's a little bit weak sauce. I think, if anything, the Bills got better, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Von Miller is a legitimate leader. He has succeeded everywhere he's played. I think it is a great pickup for the Bills to have that, and I don't think there is any kind of competition really in that division but maybe one other team that could be playoff bound. But like, it's the Bills' division. It's going to be their division. They're still going to win 12 to 13 games.
Mr. Wins, are you about to give us some Tuanon love right now? Is that what you're about to do for the AFC East?
Listen, the Bills played just 6 teams last year that made the playoffs. They went 2-4 in those games. And what you guys are failing to see here or to remember is they don't lose a player. I'm not saying they lose a player, but they lose their offensive coordinator, Brian Daboll. I think that is a huge loss because I think they're going to run the ball more with Sean McDermott being an old school coach. Ken Dorsey is the offensive coordinator now. He's going to kind of bully him into running the ball more. And that's not why they lost the playoff game last year. They lost the playoff game because Sean McDermott was terrible at game management, and his defense gave up all kinds of points to Kansas City there in the fourth quarter. So I'm worried about Sean McDermott taking over, some play calling because really the Bills were awesome last year when they threw on first down and when they let Josh Allen cook. The Dolphins are very interesting because guess who they're coached by now?
He's a guy.
Do you guys know?
Mike something McDaniel, right? He used to be with the Rams.
Mike McDaniel. Guess who he is? He is a Kyle Shanahan protege. Here we go. Listen to these players: Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Chase Edmonds, Teron Armstead. I mean, since entering the NFL, Tyreek Hill leads the league with 40 touchdowns scored outside the red zone. Chase Edmonds, 36% of his touchdowns have been scored outside the red zone. Raheem Mostert, backup running back, one of the fastest guys in the league, 50% of his touchdowns have been scored outside the red zone. Cedric Wilson from the Cowboys, 63% of his touchdowns have been scored from outside the red zone. And we saw Jalen Waddle, what he did in college. These guys are extremely fast. They are going to spread out defenses. And I just gave you the stat with the most yak per completion. Number 1 was San Fran last year. Number 3 was KC. McDaniel comes from San Fran, and he's getting Tyreek Hill from Kansas City. This Miami Dolphins team is primed to take over the AFC East next year. They got all kinds of weapons, and they are going to beat the Bills in 2022 for that division title.
There's only one question that I would have about this division, and it leads to what you were just talking about right there. I believe in play calling and scheme the way that you do. I believe in speed the way that you do. I'm not entirely sure I believe in Tua Tagovailoa. So give me anything, because you gave a lot of great stuff about the Dolphins there. You gave even more stuff about why you don't like the Bills, but we all know how important quarterback play is in the NFL in 2022. Give me something to believe in, to quote Poison here, about Tua.
Well, this is the same argument for Philly. I mean, you just have to believe. They have all these weapons around Jalen Hurts. The GM did. They have all these weapons around Tua now. And you said to yourself, speed kills. And you can question Tua. I question Tua. I'm not sure if he can do it or not. But all the weapons are there. And we know how tough it is to go down and play in Miami in the humidity. These guys are going to wear out defenses, man. And it's always, when you're a prognosticator, you always have to be a year early on this stuff. They've got the coach. They've got the scheme. They're going to use all kinds of misdirection. These defenses aren't going to be able to stop this fast offense. And that's why I think Miami can take down Buffalo.
All right, Chris,
this year.
I got to let you chop it up a little bit on the AFC East here. I'd respond to Mr. Williams here, and then we'll get our picks and move along.
I like it. I like this being the year of Tua. A couple years ago, right after the draft, everyone was talking about Burrow. And I made the statement that I think Tua will end up being the better NFL quarterback in the long run. Burrow has won me over a little bit, but I still believe in that statement that Tua will overtake him and be the better quarterback. And I think this is the year it starts.
This is crazy, man. You guys need to get yourself some pink T-shirts and some white sport coats and just move down to Miami and start being undercover drug cops. All right, you guys this is Miami Vice that we are dealing with right here. I mean, man alive, I'm going on paper right now with the Bills. The incredibly brilliant producer of this podcast, Jimmy Jamriska, is with me, going with the Bills. Williams, go with your nonsense.
Miami's going to win.
Listen, I still have the Bills winning this division this year. I think Miami wins double-digit games, but I don't think they pass the Bills yet.
All right, there we go. Let's move to, I want to save the AFC West for last, even though we are desperately running out of time, but that's all right. We'll do a bit of a supersized episode here. But there's some interesting stuff in the NFC North, as always. How about your defending Super Bowl runners-up, the Cincinnati Bengals? How about your everybody's new favorite quarterback, Joe Burrow, Cincinnati Bengals? How about your Baltimore Ravens, just steady, tried, and true? Lamar Jackson on a FU prove-it year. No new contract for Lamar yet in Baltimore. Oh, yeah, you also have the Pittsburgh Steelers, who you can always count on the Mike Tomlin rah-rah spot, and they could be in one all year long with Mitch Trubisky at quarterback. Lots of questions in the NFC North, and there's one team I'd kind of like to just leave out of it because there's one thing that I just don't really want to have come up. So we're just probably not going to talk much about the Cleveland Browns here unless you think we need to, Mr. Williams.
No, I'm with you guys. I almost moved that Browns team down to the top of tier 4 just because of bad karma. They still have a ton of talent. I'm not sure about the quarterback room. And honestly, we're not even sure if he comes back and plays this year. So we'll just leave them at the bottom. But I did want to kind of disagree with Chris from the last pod. I wasn't on, but he was kind of poo-pooing the Steelers, and I would have been all with him the last 2 years because I was poo-pooing the Steelers the last 2 years also. But I think the Steelers need to go to the bottom of tier 3 just because of they're going to be underdogs in so many games this year, and they have an awesome defense. I know the quarterback room stinks, but I could see the Steelers.
Now, wait a minute.
Win 7,
we can't
8,
speak to the body odor of either Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky. All right, we have no idea if it stinks or not. Their play is not very good, but we have no idea what they smell like.
Yeah, and Tomlin's never had a losing record since he's been there. That defense is going to be nasty. You talk about another fantasy defense to target. Man, the Steelers, that defense is going to be nasty. But yeah, I mean, I just think that the Steelers could win 7, 8, 9 games. So I think they should be bottom tier 3.
Steelers remind me of the Bears from, 2-3 years ago. Good defense, nothing else. I don't see
with the same quarterback. No wonder they remind you of that. It's literally the same quarterback.
Ton of wide receiver weapons.
But listen, even though that defense is good, and I think TJ Watt just got hurt, but I don't think it's serious. They're going to be on that field a long time in a lot of games, and they're going to get worn out.
True.
And their stats aren't going to be that great. They'll be great maybe through the first 2.5, 3.5 quarters, but that fourth quarter, that last half of it, when it really counts, they're going to be worn out, and that's going to happen a lot this year. They're not going to finish last,
all right,
so
fine.
that's
good.
Steelers
but
talk. They're
Great.
not going to
Mike
be
Tomlin
fighting.
rah-rah spot. We'll talk about it a lot during the year. Mr. Williams, who do you have at the top of that division? Is it the Cincinnati Bengals, or is it the team I might be leaning to, but I'm not going to tip my hand yet?
Yeah, I like the Ravens. They have the sixth highest jump in passing defense efficiency, strength of schedule in 2022. Lamar's primed to have a bounce back year here. Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, and this new tight end Isaiah Likely, who's been tearing up the preseason. I really like the Ravens. They added some. They can't have any worse luck on defense than they had last year. So I like the Ravens there. And then Cincinnati, they play the second most games off road Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football. That's brutal, man. That's a big disadvantage.
You know what, though, real quick? I have something on
the
that. It's always NBA-based with me. But Brian Windhorst often talks about how when he was in Cleveland with LeBron, that flights were never a big deal because of Cleveland's, central in the country. And, flights everywhere were, shorter than any other flight. So I think you're right about the travel. But the fact that they land in the middle of the country will probably shave an hour or two off some of those flights.
Yeah, I'm not really concerned about that. It's more about the prep time for the next game. that they play the most difficult schedule of opposing passing defenses. They faced the easiest schedule last year in that category. And like I said, Burrow faces the brutal schedule down the stretch. He faced just 6 top 10 pass defenses in 2021. In those games, he is 7.3 yards per pass attempt and 236 passing yards per game, compared to 8.6 yards per pass attempt and 319 passing yards per game when facing non-top 10 passing defenses. So he's kind of had some problems against really good defenses, and I expect defenses to play more of more of those good defenses are going to play that deep shell, like cover 2, and so they're going to make them work for these drives. So I don't know. I like the Ravens. The schedule sets up better than the Bengals. So I like the Ravens in the North.
Chris, your non-Steelers North thoughts. Are you Ravens or are you Bengals?
I really want to pick. I'm picking the Bengals. I don't care. Let's go Bengals. I'm a big Lamar Jackson fan. I really do like the Ravens, but I'm going Bengals.
You better be. You were one of the first people to start the Bengals train on this podcast. You were decked out in the black and orange stripes at all times early on this podcast. You better be Bengal back in here.
Yep, I still got to back up the Bengals. I am
going with the Ravens. I am with Mr. Williams. One thing he didn't mention there is I believe in John Harbaugh. All right, I think the guy's a pretty good coach. I think that there's a lot to be said for organizational stability. I know that Ozzie Newsome has moved on, but it was his number 2 that moved in there. I mean, that's been the same organization running for a while. He's got a lot of talent. They were pretty injury riddled last year, the Ravens were. I also have the Ravens not just to make the playoffs, because that's too easy. I have them all the way to make the Super Bowl. And if the Ravens make the Super Bowl, they don't have to win it, Mr. Williams. They just have to get there. I stand to cash a substantial ticket. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, let's go, man. I think the Ravens can do it. The only thing that worries me with the Ravens is they didn't really add to that pass rush, and they're losing Wink Martindale, their defensive coordinator. He goes over to the Giants. So there'll be less blitzes, but they had to blitz last year because they just could not create pressure on those opposing quarterbacks. So where are they going to get the pressure on these opposing quarterbacks? And they play really well with the lead. That's why they've been a great regular season team throughout, since Harbaugh's been there, since Lamar's been there. The question is, once they get into the playoffs and they get behind, we saw it in that Titans game, they get behind, what do? We saw it in the Bills game, and they just seem to not come through against really good teams, and you're going to face really good teams, especially in the AFC playoffs. So, look, anything's possible. I think Lamar's prime for a bounce back year, so maybe they get the 1 seed, maybe they play some home playoff games, maybe that'll help them. So that's not out of the question that the Ravens can make the Super Bowl.
Jimmy is with us as well, Ravens. So Chris, you were by it yourself. Bengals. Let's go to probably the glory division in the National Football League this year. That would be the AFC West. I'm just going to give Jimmy's pick here because I think I might have forgotten to give a couple of Jimmy's picks along the way. So we're going to start it right here with Jimmy's absolute most insane pick. You have 2 teams in the AFC West that people have been talking about a bunch this offseason. You have a 3rd team in the NFC West that just got Russell Wilson as their quarterback. We alluded to that earlier. Any of those 3 teams get Jimmy's fancy? Absolutely not. Our producer, Jimmy Jamriska, is insanely going with the Josh McDaniels-led Las Vegas Raiders to win the AFC West. Mr. Williams.
I kind of like that pick.
Mr. Williams, why is that insane?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be. I mean, because they added. They still have Max Crosby. They added Chandler Jones, so they've got outstanding pressure on the edge. And McDaniels is a really good offensive coordinator. They added Devontae Adams also, so they're going to have all kinds of weapons in the red zone with him and Waller. And Renfro is an outstanding route runner. The problem with the Raiders is their offensive line. Their offensive line is absolutely garbage. They used to be awesome, and now they've lost 3 or 4 guys off that offensive line. So will Carr have enough time to get these throws out? We've seen Carr under pressure before, and it has not ended well. And now you've got a division where there is some major pass rushing monsters in that division. Bosa, Chris Jones, and when we've got a whole revamped Denver defense. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Like the Raiders are the best like projected last place team in any division. But I don't see them winning the division just because this division is so
Chris, who do
stacked.
you got winning this division? Is it everybody's sexy favorite, the Chargers, or is it the tried and true Chiefs? Who needs Tyreek Hill?
Okay, so I have the Chargers winning this division, and it's mostly because the Chiefs play a ridiculously tough schedule, and they lost Tyreek Hill, and their defense really did not improve that much. Meanwhile, the Chargers lost a lot of close games. That's bound to regress positively, especially when you have as aggressive of coach as the Chargers do in Brandon Staley. Yes, he probably cost them a couple games last year because he was like ultra uber aggression. But I like the aggression. I'd rather have an aggressive coach than one who just runs it on 2nd and 13 up the middle for 2 yards, a la Pete Carroll. But yeah, I've got the Chargers winning.
All right,
winning
Chargers going to Charger. You go ahead and you put your faith behind the San Diego Chargers. I've seen the San Diego Chargers too many times be touted as the team that, oh man, the Chargers have so much talent on paper that if it ever comes together, it'd be great for San Diego. And what does San Diego do? They somehow figure out a way to choke it out. So give me the Chiefs all day long. All right, we talked too many times at the beginning of this podcast about this coach and that coach and this other coach. Well, guess what? There's a coach named Andy Reid in Kansas City who people can make fun of for a lot of reasons, but the guy's got a track record. He's got the best quarterback in football. Yeah, you heard me. Best quarterback in football. You can have your Herberts. You can have your Burrow. Patrick Mahomes is still the best quarterback in football, and the Chiefs have an offensive line. He was doing a lot of these things with a subpar offensive line. The man could have 5-6 seconds every once in a while when he drops back there. So sure, he doesn't need Tyreek Hill's speed anymore to get wide open because he's going to have insane time. The Chiefs may have a tough schedule, but I still think they're going to run roughshod over the league and show everybody why they've been an exciting team and everybody's loved Patrick Mahomes for a couple of years. Chiefs comeback tour, baby. Chris, your thoughts?
I disagree with you. I really disagree with both of you. I'm not sold on the Chiefs being able to win this division. I'm not sold on Herbert and the Chargers because I think the Chargers are going to Charger just like you, Rod. I'm kind of high on the Raiders, just like Jimmy Jam.
Wow, this is insane.
But I gotta take
out of you
Denver.
Two. Thank you. At least you're going Broncos. Goodness.
I gotta take Denver in this division. I think Russell coming in, he is a proven winner. I think they're gonna let him cook, and I think he's gonna throw for 4,500 yards and almost 40 touchdowns. I think we'll see some old school Super Bowl bound type play from Russell, and I really like this Denver team.
All right, Mr. Williams, you can have the final word on the AFC West because we are all over the place because I think this is going to be a pretty tough division for somebody to come on top of.
Yeah, I like Denver a lot. The only thing I don't like about Denver is their offensive line also, and they lost a little bit on defense. Look, the Chargers added J.C. Jackson on defense. That's a huge get from the Patriots. They added Kyle Van Noy, another huge get. They added Khalil Mack. Derwin James is coming back. That defense is going to be loaded. And this is the first year where Justin Herbert is going to play in the same offensive system in back-to-back years since he was a senior in high school in Eugene, Oregon. Shout out April 29th, 1992, Sublime. So, yeah, I mean, I really like the Chargers this year. They got all kinds of weapons. Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Josh Palmer. Yeah, this team is loaded. They just have to get over the quit charging. And that was the old San Diego Chargers, Rod. This is the LA Chargers. This is the LA Chargers,
bolt on their helmet?
Rod. I don't know, but this is the LA Chargers now. Let's go.
Matters. I think the decal on the helmet still matters. All right, so that gives us all the division winners in the AFC. I need to give you real quickly, Jimmy Jamriska had the Los Angeles Rams, Philadelphia Eagles, and Minnesota Vikings also making the playoffs in the NFC. That's going to be relevant based on who he has in the Super Bowl here in a second. But Now, us three who are here present on the podcast, our three AFC non-division winning playoff teams are. Chris, you can start.
So I am going to go Baltimore. I am going to go Chargers. And then the Tua-led Miami Dolphins.
Dolphins, Ravens, Chargers. Williams, your three non-division winning playoff teams in the AFC. And now you said you were scraping for the seventh team in the NFC. I think there's going to be a pretty good team that's maybe left out of the playoffs in the AFC, no?
Right. Just to double check, Chris does not have Kansas City making the playoffs.
Yeah, yep. That's how
Insane.
it came out.
Okay. Yeah, I have the Chiefs as a wild card. I have the Bills as a wild card, and I have the Broncos as a wild card. So you know what that means? That means I have another losing team from the Super Bowl not making the playoffs the year after, and I do not have the Bengals in the playoffs. I wish that they were in the NFC because I would have them in the playoffs in the NFC, but this AFC is just loaded.
You know what, Mr. Williams? I am kind of leaning your exact way in the AFC as well. Give me San Diego, I just did it again. Give me the LA Chargers in the playoffs because they've made the playoffs before, even as I did this whole diatribe. I mean, Stan Humphries made it all the way to the Super Bowl, for goodness sakes, in the San Diego Chargers. So, I mean, they've made the playoffs. Clearly, they can do that. So give me the Chargers in the playoffs. Give me the Fins. I like the Fins a little bit too. I just think speed is such a thing that's going to get them in. And then give me another team out in the... See, this is tough. I lean an awful lot like what you were saying, Mr. Williams, that the Bengals might not make the playoffs, but I don't know if I have enough guts to pull that trigger.
Tough schedule.
Nope.
Tough
you know
schedule.
what I'm going to do? I'm going to stake my flag in the Jacksonville Jaguars. Boom. Give me the Jaguars in the playoffs. That's what I'm going to do.
That's crazy.
That's the craziest
crazy.
pick all night. That's crazier than any of Jimmy's
Listen,
picks.
you know what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to put some
nuts.
bad mojo out in the air in the Colts division, okay? I'm trying to do like a double deke protection move here for the Colts because Williams is all talking number one seed bets for the Colts, and I got mad at him for saying that. So I want to have a flag planted that I told you Jacksonville is better than the Colts if it happens.
Get your Colts 16-1 tickets, number one overall seed right now.
All right, so who do you have in the AFC taking on the Vikings, Mr. Williams?
Oh, man. This is going to be an awesome AFC playoffs, even if these aren't the right teams. Man, these are just loaded. They're just loaded. I can see any of these teams making it. I'm going to go with the Chargers.
All right, Chargers v. Vikes. Don't give us your winner yet. We'll go for that final. Chris, who do you got taking on the Rams in the Super Bowl?
The Bills
v. Rams is Chris's Super Bowl. All right, my Super Bowl is as follows. Philly v. I got to do it, Ravens. It's Philly v. Ravens. We're going to have a real East Coast, real harbor-centric kind of Super Bowl. We're going to have Baltimore v. Philly. We're going to have wild accents. It's going to be an absolute party. Jimmy's Super Bowl is the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Los Angeles Rams. Jimmy is for an all LA Super Bowl. I don't know if Jimmy's ever been to LA, but he's all about LA having nice things. We'll give you Jimmy's Super Bowl winner first because I believe it is absolutely insanity. Jimmy has the Los Angeles Rams repeating. Mr. Williams, there's no possible way the Rams repeat, right? You didn't even have them in the playoffs, did you?
I had them barely making it in. I don't see them making it. They're too top heavy. I think if they have any injuries at all, what happens if they lose Aaron Donald? I mean, that defense takes a complete dive, or Jalen Ramsey. I mean, these guys are older. Stafford's older. The depth on the Rams is just non-existent. So they put all their eggs in one basket, and good for them. They won the Super Bowl, but I do not see them winning another one. But I'll go with, this is tough. This is Kevin O'Connell, the old LA coach, going against the new LA team in the Super Bowl. I'm going to go with the Chargers.
Wow, look at you. Herbert Love flowing out of Williams' veins right now with the L.A. Chargers winning the Super Bowl. Absolutely insane. Speaking of insane, I should probably calm down. I'll call him the producer of this podcast insane. Who knows what kind of edit he's going to give me now after all this and calling calling Jimmy insane. Chris, you're Super Bowl winner.
I think there's going to be a repeat champion. I just don't think it's going to be the Rams. It's going to be Von Miller and the Bills.
I like what you did there. All right, so Buffalo, you lost 4 in a row, but Chris is finally giving you one. So that comes down to me. I'm going to take the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I only need them to get there to cash my bet, but I'm going to try to put my force and juju behind the Ravens all year long. I like John Harbaugh an awful lot. I think it'd be pretty cool if John Harbaugh wins the Super Bowl and he can stick it to his brother Jim, who's just going to be stuck coaching Michigan till the end of time because it turns out nobody actually wanted him to coach the football team anymore. So Harbaugh gets one up on his insanely competitive brother. There you have it. That is the team portion of our NFL picks. We will come back next week where we will pick individual games for you. But Mr. Williams, I'm giving you your assignment now. Next week, we're going to come back with individual awards. We'll predict those next week before we throw out a couple of games. All right. Will you be ready for that?
All right. Yeah.
All right. And your closing thoughts on all of our team picks here, Mr. Williams, before we close up shop.
Yeah, some interesting picks. I think we've had good banter, and we'll see who overexceeds. We'll see who regresses, and can't wait for we're about a week away from that first kickoff game, Bills and Rams. That's who Chris has in the Super Bowl. So that could be a prelude to the Super Bowl.
There you go. Chris has the Super Bowl matchup.
Or wait, Arizona Super Bowl in Arizona this year, I think, right? Yeah.
Desert Super Bowl this year. All right, we have another podcast coming out for you, I believe, in the feed probably the next day after this one drops. Maybe the same day this one drops. I'm not entirely sure, but Jimmy and I are going to have our picks out for you about the WWE Premium Live event happening over in Cardiff, Wales, the Clash at the Castle. That will be out in this feed this week as well, because that's coming up on Saturday at 1 in the afternoon, actually, because of the time difference and all of that. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. And we will be coming back every week ahead of the games. We usually don't factor in the Thursday night game. We typically tend to tape on Thursday nights, but we have picks for you for the weekend. I think we're going to keep that same schedule this year. So look forward to all of us coming in to your particular podcast player week by week, giving you some NFL picks from our guy, the handicapper, Josh Williams. Produced by James Jamriska here on the Morgan Podcasting Network. Thank you so much for listening. All the fans out there, the final word goes to my intrepid co-host, Mr. Chris King.
Goodbye, Internet.